White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said today the president is currently experiencing mild symptoms after testing positive yesterday for the coronavirus. But his health profile at age 74, his borderline obesity with high cholesterol, puts him at higher risk for a potentially severe case. Joining us now by way of Skype to discuss the president's case is Dr. Bobby Chiong. He is the chairman of the Department of Radiology at St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx. Dr. Chiong, thank you. We welcome you to New York One, and thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. So the president, as we understand, is in isolation at this point, which he should be. But what kind of care do you think he is receiving right now?
So the president tested positive for coronavirus, and like you said, he's in his 70s, 74 years old. I think officially his body mass index is 30, which places him at obese. Other than that, the high cholesterol isn't really a significant risk factor, but just the age in and of itself, I think the CDC calculates the percent chance of dying from coronavirus for someone in their 70s is 16% across the board, 32% if you have underlying health conditions. So right now, the most important thing is quarantine to stay away from other people. The treatments that he's probably going to get, the data's very much up in the air. Probably if it were up to me, I was just talking with a friend of mine at Mount Sinai, probably convalescent plasma would be the first line. That's plasma that has antibodies from someone who's recovered from coronavirus. That's the best profile of treatment efficacy. And it depends on the symptoms. The patients that we were treating, we mostly went on, there were a lot of patients, even elderly, that had mild symptoms, and we could treat pretty conservatively. The president was talking about taking hydroxychloroquine before. That hasn't really been shown to pan out. Remdesivir is the other kind of antiviral that's been shown promise. So I'm guessing remdesivir and convalescent plasma, if anything.
The trajectory of the illness can really sneak up on you, from what I understand. A lot of people report the mild symptoms, which the president apparently is experiencing now, but then all of a sudden it hits like a ton of bricks. Is there any way to predict what he's in for?
So, yeah, I don't envy any doctors having to treat the president, because that's obviously a lot of pressure. There's not really a great way to predict who's going to be really sick and really not. That's been one of the great mysteries of COVID, is even if you're exposed, are you going to get sick? If you get sick, how are you going to do? So mostly for patients, you, me, anyone walking down the street, we're going to watch and monitor, because it's the president. From what we know about his health history, just his age is the most prominent risk factor against him. But I'm sure that his doctors are taking every step to make sure that his illness doesn't progress.
And doctor, how long generally do patients carry the virus before showing symptoms? And I only ask because the president interacted with a lot of people before he started to appear sick at all. And we saw him last night, or heard him last night, and he sounded rather congested. But how long do you think he's been walking around with the virus? And I'm really curious about that, because he supposedly is being tested every day.
So that's one of the things that has allowed this virus to spread as much as it has. People talk about Ebola, MERS, SARS, the other diseases that were supposed to be, or had risk of being pandemics, and those would get you sick really quickly within a couple of days. Coronavirus has been sneaky in that it usually takes about 4 or 5 days and up to 2 weeks. So that's the reason that when you go into quarantine, you need to get away from people for 2 weeks, because you don't know if you're going to be tested or start showing symptoms in a few days, in a week, or up to 2 weeks. So I saw that Joe Biden tested negative, Mike Pence tested negative, which is not really a meaningful result at this point, because it's going to take that 2 week lag period. So how long has President had the disease, and when was he exposed? most likely was within the past 4, 5, 6 days, but it could have been up to 2 weeks.
Wow. So I'm going to put you on a limb a little bit here. If the president had worn a mask on a regular basis and had insisted that those interacting with him also wore a mask, what are the odds, do you think, that we'd still be here talking about the president testing positive for coronavirus?
I really don't think that's much of a limb at all. We've studied mask usage, prospective, retrospective. We've seen the countries that have had the highest utilization of masks have had the lowest spread of disease. I'm sure you've seen the data. If you were wearing a mask, if I'm wearing a mask, if we're 6 feet apart, the risk of transmission is almost nil. So I think, I know the president has been back and forth on masks, and I've definitely heard him say and seen him at rallies not having a mask and being around a lot of people. So it's not much of a limit at all to say that if he had worn a mask, the chances of his having coronavirus would be very much decreased.
All right. I appreciate that honest answer there. Dr. Bobby Chiong, I want to thank you very much for speaking with us. All the best to you, and stay safe.
Thank you.